Share this video with everybody you know, because everybody needs to see the widespread epidemic in hypocrisy that we saw on No King's Day. Just like we saw the epidemic of hypocrisy during the military parade. Everybody's talking about, oh, look how small Trump's military parade was. Look how large the No King's Day protest was. These people who are telling you they don't want a king want a king, and they want you to vote for a king. And Tennessee Brando wants you to vote for a king, and Brian Tyler Cohen wants you to vote for a king, and Kyle Kulinski wants you to vote for a king. This is what's going on. They applaud No King Day while they ask for a king every 4 years, while they vote for rulers every 2 years. We're going to get into this, and I want to expose the hypocrisy, because there is a psychological operation being run on the American people, and it is working because most people are on board with this no kings garbage, this no kings hypocritical garbage. They should actually want no masters, no rulers, no federal government. But the problem with this No King's Day thing and how it's wrapped up in hypocrisy is they actually want a person running the country. They just want to make sure that it's their person playing for their team, passing their policies, and then getting them to force you to follow those policies. Let's just take a look at this hypocrisy real quick. This first one is from Tennessee Brando.
But right now, they're all still licking the boots of Donald Trump, and it's absolutely disgusting. So
this is a bootlicker. This guy licks the boots of Democrats. He's a Democrat bootlicker telling the Trumpsters not to lick Trump's boots. And that's true. You shouldn't lick Trump's boots, but you also shouldn't follow leftist progressive propagandists like this guy who wants you to lick the blue boot, not the red boot.
I really don't want to say any more about that other than he deserved for it to flop, and good for them. But
talking about the military parade being a flop, and these guys right here, this guy, and this guy rejoiced that Trump's military parade flopped as far as the poor turnout.
I would prefer to talk about is the massive No Kings protest that happened yesterday, which is one of the largest protests in American history. And it just goes to show that Donald Trump showed up for all the wrong reasons. He showed up on the anniversary of our military and tried to make it all about himself. And when he did, the American people rejected that. The American people, if he was such a popular guy and so well loved,
the American people, like he broad brushes and puts all the American people in the basket of being at the No Kings protest. I'm an American. I was at the No Kings protest to interview protesters, but I wasn't hypocritically asking for no kings as I asked for a king.
they could have easily made the trip to D.C. to be there with him and stand in unity, but instead they weren't. It was an absolute dud, and people all over the country showed up to protest and to let everyone know that we don't have kings here in America. Now, I went to the one in Knoxville, Tennessee.
It's just a lie. We do. We have rulers, we have masters, we have lawmakers who make the laws, and they tell you if you don't follow the laws, you'll be punished. We have masters, we have rulers, we have kings. So is it just one king you're concerned about? What if there are two kings? What if there's a cabinet of kings who are doing the same thing that just one king would do? See, they want masters, they want rulers. They just don't want you to have your master or your ruler. They want their master.
I'll tell you what, I was absolutely blown away when I got there, because I have been to other protests in Knoxville since Trump got back in office, and they've always been good turnouts, but nothing compared to yesterday. Man, when I topped the hill and started down into town, I was like, holy shit. I mean, people were just lined for blocks and walking the streets. Everybody was in good spirits.
This is the appeal to large numbers. Oh, there are large numbers of people here. They must be right. They must be on the right side of history.
Was peacefully protesting, and I met and ran into so many people who were just excited to be there and speaking up and speaking out. And one guy that I bumped into, though, made the best point out of all of it, and that's the one thing I really want to talk about here, is he said, ain't this a great turnout? And I said, yeah, I'm really surprised that there's this many people in Knoxville, Tennessee. This is amazing. And he said, now if we can just get all these people to show up and vote.
Now, if we could get all these people to show up and vote, all these people with the No Kings signs, vote for what, Tennessee Brando? Oh, vote for a king. We don't want kings. No kings, no kings, no kings. Wouldn't it be something if all these people turned out to vote for a king? What freaking share this with everybody you know, because what people don't understand is when you see these crowds right here chanting no kings, and yet they do. Okay, you don't want kings. What actually do you want? You want an authoritarian, psychopathic, megalomaniac ruling over the rest of us, making rules where if we don't follow them, we'll be punished.
Folks, that truly is the key thing that we need to take away from yesterday. Yesterday was a big day. We proved that our protests are more powerful than Trump's dictator parade.
We proved that our no kings, but we really want to vote for kings, was more powerful than the king's dictator parade. Let's call this what it is. And why is nobody calling it for what it is? This guy uploaded this video 13 hours ago. He's got a like-dislike ratio off the charts, 19,000 likes to 445 dislikes. People love this stuff. This is what's wrong with America is not that we have psychopaths who want to rule us. We have a whole lot of slaves right here who claim they don't want to be ruled by a psychopath while they want you to vote for their psychopath. Same with this right here. Brian Tyler Cohen uploaded this 11 hours ago. 2.1 million views. A like to dislike ratio of 108,000 likes to 1,400 dislikes. You've got Kyle Kalinske, 22 hours ago, 307,000 views. Crazy like to dislike ratio. They're making fun of the anemic turnout from Trump's military parades, his Kim Jong-un style military parade. Yes, that's true. Trump is a tyrant. He wants to be a king, but so did Obama. So did Biden. So was Biden. So Harris wanted to be the queen. We don't call them queens and kings. We call them presidents. But they wield the same power. As a matter of fact, they're even more powerful than just a monarch. They've done more destruction than a monarch. How many people has the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military industrial complex been able to waylay and destroy land and plunder resources and kill people in the history of the United States? Whether it's Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. So these people calling for no kings are liars. They're hypocrites. And this guy has proven it. We've got a whole lot of people on our side calling for no kings, while he just called for a king. We got to get them to vote ... for what? For rulers, for masters, for legislators, for kings. Call them whatever you want to. They wield the same kind of power.
We proved that our voices are louder than his, and they're louder than MAGA's. We proved what I've said all along, which is that MAGA actually, truthfully, is a silent majority. But folks, we have got to stay on top of things. We've got to keep pushing forward, and we have to keep the same excitement we had yesterday going forward. We have to show up at the midterms, and have to show up in 2028. And we can't.
This is as plain as the nose on your face, and virtually nobody is talking about it. These are the same people who were for shutting down businesses, closing schools, shutting down churches, forcing injections, forcing the elderly to die alone, forcing you to not go to, barring your access to go to holiday parties with your family. These people who don't want kings want kings.
You start splitting hairs and going in different directions. I say this so many times, but I will continue to drive this point home. Folks, whatever your biggest issue is with the Democratic Party, the DNC, or the future Democratic candidate, whoever he or she may be.
Whoever that blue line king may be, whoever that donkey king, that Democrat king may be, what is it?
Regardless of who it is, what you got to stop and ask yourself is, okay, how would Donald Trump make the one issue that I have a problem with the Democrats? How would Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Don Jr., or anyone else MAGA cooks up, how would that person actually do any better on the one issue that I'm the most concerned about? Because the truth is, they're not going to, okay? So whoever comes forward in these elections and whoever we see coming out as the 2028 nominee,
whatever king comes out,
We got to get solidly behind them, and we have to be as pumped up as we were yesterday.
He just hailed the virtues of the No King movement while he's saying, whoever emerges on the Democrat side to be our king, we got to get behind him.
We were out protesting. The protest is going to last forever, by the way. These aren't going away. These aren't something that we're just going to have to stop doing. And the protest never ends, even if we end up getting back in power. And we will. Democrats will get back.
Getting back in power. That's king talk. Hey, Brandon, I don't want somebody to have power over me. But Brandon is saying he not only wants power over somebody to have power over him, he also wants that same person who has power over him to have power over you and to have power over me. Guess what that's called? A king, a ruler, a monarch, an oligarchy. Call it whatever you want to. He wants kings in power while he's saying we don't want kings. Can it be more clear?
In power. But when they do, we cannot back down. We have to keep the protests going even when we're there. We have to keep the excitement going even when we are in control again. That's what.
When we are in control. He's talking about a power shift. He's talking about a control grid. Who are you in power over, Brando? Who do you want to control, Brando? This is crazy. I had not watched this video up to this point, and I was going to touch on what Brian Tyler Cohen said and Kyle Kulinski, but I think I'm going to keep this as one video. Let's keep going. This is very interesting. Psychologically, it is fascinating. He wants an authoritarian to rule and be in power and be in control.
MAGA does. Stop and think about MAGA for a minute, and I'm just saying, don't
MAGA, who has power right now.
Borrow from them in the sense that you borrow all of their evil, that you borrow all of their hatred and their bigotry and all the bullshit that comes with them. But you have to look over at them and say, you know what? These people are motivated. These people are dedicated to a lost cause. So if they can be so dedicated to a lost cause that they defend it to the death every day of their lives, then we can be that dedicated to the true issues at hand because we want to see everybody in this country do better. We want to see people have a living wage. We want to see workers treated
living wage. So he's going to force businesses to set wages. And how's he going to do that? Because his person is the authority. His person's in power. His person's in control. And his person and his cabinet, the people he picks on his blue line team, on his donkey team, get to set what businesses pay people. Hey, you're going to have to pay that person a living wage. Well, wait a second. I'm a small business. And this person just answered my ad and we just negotiated on a rate. You're saying that I need to change the rate and make it higher because your guy's in control, because your guy's in power? It sounds like a king telling me what I need to do with my own business. His King Biden, just like King Trump, shut the country down. His King Biden closed down businesses. Businesses went out of business during the COVID 1984 by George Orwell nonsense. Churches were not allowed to open because his king said you can't do it. His king told you to close your schools. His king told you can't visit grandma. His king told you if you want to visit grandma sometime in the future, you're going to have to roll that sleeve up.
We believe universal health care is a right. We believe
universal health care. In other words, we're going to force a whole lot of Americans who are not on board with this. We're going to force them to fund our good policies and our good things. We have good intentions. Like Daniel Webster said, good intentions will always be pleaded for every assumption of authority, for every assumption of power.
That women should be able to make their own medical decisions and no one should have any say in it but them and their doctor. Those are the only voices that should be in that.
This hypocrite didn't say you can make your own medical decision during the COVID 1984 by George Orwell nonsense. He was saying, no, you want to work? You got to roll up your sleeve, buddy. It's just medical science. Trust the science. This guy was enacting and applauded the enactment of medical tyranny on his fellow Americans. That's how much he wants a king. That's how much he wants to lick the boot. That's how subservient he wants to be. And he wants his master to be in authority, in power and to control the rest of us.
Doctor's office when those decisions are being made. We believe that the gay and trans community should be treated like everyone else, and everyone in this world shouldn't get a handout but should have a fair hand to play. And we have to stand.
Shouldn't get a handout, but we need to make sure somebody gets a living wage. We need to make sure we have universal health care, but we don't want handouts. See how inherently hypocritical and inconsistent these statists have to be? Sure, I want a whole bunch of Americans plundered so we can give universal health care, state-run health care to the rest of us, because we know the state does so good when they put their hand to anything. When the government gets involved, prices go up, quality goes down, people end up dying. So let's go ahead and give them more money because maybe they'll be better now.
And true to our issues, just like we were yesterday. The excitement you felt yesterday when you saw those crowds and you saw people holding their signs and you loved some of those signs and you stopped and took pictures of some of those signs, what you got to do is keep that same energy going.
You mean these hypocritical signs right here? No kings but mine. No, you can't have your king, but I can have my king. God.
The entire time. You cannot back down. Even when we regain power, you have to realize that these people...
When we regain power. Think about it. We want the power. We don't want you to have the power. You'll misuse your power. But we are benevolent. We are kind. We are all wise and knowledgeable. We must have the power. That's what the other side says. Hey, we need the power. This guy's saying we need the power. In other words, you want a king to wield that power.
People who are coming for our democracy are going to always be coming for it. Don't ever think that these people are going to take a break. Don't ever think that these people are going to back down or take a back step. They're not. I said
do you realize that people on the other side are saying the same thing about him and his ilk? They're threatening our democracy. They're threatening the American way of life. They're threatening our freedoms. We've got to take the power back. This is what the problem is with America. Everybody who votes wants a king, but they want to make sure it's their king. Their king is ruling because they believe that king is going to benefit them. But here's the catch. Even his king is going to juke him. His king is going to steal and plunder from him and make his life worse. His king is going to increase the national debt and trash the value of the dollar. Why? Because all the kings do, Democrat or Republican, king, president, monarch, whatever you want to call him. That's what they are. That's how they act. And you better obey them because if you don't, you're in big trouble.
Going into the election, I said, if Kamala Harris wins this thing, we have to continue to keep the fight going strong because they're never going to stop. And there's one takeaway.
Keep the fight going strong.
One of these protests that I always...
What did he just say about Kamala Harris?
Don't ever think that these people are going to take a break. Don't ever think that these people are going to back down or take a back step. They're not. I said that going into the election. I said, if Kamala Harris wins this thing, we have to continue to keep the fight going strong because they're never going to stop.
He wanted you to vote for a queen. He wanted his audience. He's got 757,000 subscribers now. Guys, this channel that I have is very, very small, under 19,000 subscribers. I don't have very many members. If you enjoy this content, if you like this content, if it resonates with you, if you think that we can set brush fires of freedom in the time that we have left in America while everybody else is scrambling for a king while they're claiming that they don't want a king, which is just utter hypocrisy. It is no measure of good mental health to be considered well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And this right here is a profoundly sick society. While they call for a king, they're claiming they don't want a king. And then people like this and people like this and people like this with these massive audiences that get crazy 100, 200, 300 million views a month, some 500 million, 500 million views a month, are telling their audience, hey, the way we get out of the cage, well, no, we don't want to get out of the cage. The way you have safety, the way you have security and freedom and a comfortable life is you got to stay in the cage. And I'm telling you, we have the key in our mind to let ourselves out of the cage and have real freedom. But it's going to take a lot of us getting involved and realizing, hey, there's some serious psychopathy going on here. There is a critical mass psychosis going on. I don't want any part of it. I'm going to step outside of it. I don't want this fire of tyranny to get any brighter. So I'm not going to consent. I'm not going to continue pouring gasoline on this fire. And then people look at you like, you're not going to pour gasoline on the fire. What's your solution, buddy? Well, it's not pouring gasoline on the fire. Here, I'll pour diesel. No, you don't want to pour diesel on it either. You don't want to pour diesel or gasoline. Well, you don't have any answers, Brian. Yeah, the answer is stop pouring gasoline on the fire. We'll figure everything out after that, but you don't want to make the situation worse while we're figuring it out.
And there's one takeaway from going to these protests that I always come away with. Every time I go to a protest, I come back and I say the same thing. And yeah, I'm getting rained on, but I'm actually kind of enjoying it. The one thing that I say when I go back to these protests is I run into people who were there in the 60s. I run into people who were there in the 70s. And I talk to those people and they'll say, I can't believe we're still having to do this. But we're still having to do this. And the truth of the matter is we always have been having to do this and we always will.
And you know why? Because you're doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Same thing in the 60s, same thing in the 70s, same thing with the No Kings protest. You're constantly asking for a king and you're seesawing back and forth and you want it to be your Democrat king or your Republican king. And we can't get the square two because everybody is so fixated and being stupid on square one. If you do the same things over and over, expect the same results. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. This No Kings, as they call for kings, is the height of ignorance and stupidity. And this truly is a mass psychosis where the slaves are begging for other slave masters. It just happens they want it to be their slave master. I'll try to go over Brian Tyler Cohen's and Kyle Kulinski's, shot at making fun of the anemic Trump military parade and the massive No Kings protests and pitting them against each other and exposing more of this hypocrisy. But I'll tell you what, the way we will get our freedom is by increasing in knowledge and following principle. This is an unprincipled man. This is an unprincipled man. This is an unprincipled man. While they say they're for principled, and these are unprincipled people because they don't understand and don't have an appetite for freedom, because they still want a king, they still want a master, they still want a slave owner, and they still want to stay on the plantation. If you enjoy these videos, please do me a favor. You can help this channel for free. Just like this video and share this video with everybody you know if this resonates with you and if what I'm saying is in accordance with truth. Now, if it's not in accordance with truth, hey, let me have it in the comments section. I'm willing to be correctable, but I tell you what, I don't want a slave master because I want to be free. I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over expecting a different result because that would make me crazy. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Become a member if you want to become a member. If you want to support the channel further, the links are in the description below. It's not anticipated, but it's always appreciated. Thank you guys for joining me. This is The Disturbing Illusion. I'm Brian Young, and I will see you in the next video.